To be honest, this scares me a little bit. Even though I have nothing to hide, and I make it a point of sounding stupid and telling you that I'm okay with sounding stupid on this channel, and while I've reacted to and analyzed lots of vocalists and even analyzed my own voice, this is a first. Someone other than me, who does it a lot to other vocalists, analyzing my voice. Phil runs the Wings of Pegasus channel as well as the Authentic Vocal channel. Let's see what he says.
And next up we have Chris Liepe. I mean, Chris has just got an insane voice, but...
Thank you. Thank you.
I mean, straight off the bat, look at the variation we've got here. The flow just going up to the G4, actually going a little bit sharper the G4.
This is actually really cool. I am glad that he stops right away and shows you this is not pitch corrected, and it's not on the line. I'm flat, I'm sharp.
Here, the flow just going up to the G4, actually going a little bit sharper the G4, but now when we hit the G4 again, pretty much spot on.
Zombie, 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 what's in your...
And here, it's all about the expression of the voice, because you can see the variation that we're getting, the F sharp 4, and then here, between notes, but it still registers as the F sharp 4.
The temptation to really try to be accurate. Ha! Zombie, because it's supposed to be, those are the notes that you're supposed to be thinking and supposed to be hitting. But if you try too hard to actually hit the notes, then you are worse with the pitch. You have to sort of just let it happen after practicing that coordination of flipping.
But it still registers as the F sharp 4. Because, you know, that's what voices are all about. We're connecting to the voice. We're not looking at it when we're listening to it. But
yeah, we're not taking in data when we're listening to a voice. We're taking in an experience.
Also, you can just hear that kind of almost flip that's going on. But it's not really a flip. It's really kind of connected and allowing to kind of have a cry in there.
Absolutely is a flip from chest to head. But it's almost a sigh. The sigh is enabling that sound. And it's the same on Dolores' version, that she does that same thing with her voice.
Look at that G4.
In your head.
Good example there again. G4 ever so slightly below, and ever so slightly below again, but this is just the very natural variation of the human voice.
Zombie, zombie, zombie.
That one right there, I don't know if he's going to point that out in a minute or...
Human voice.
Zombie, zombie, zombie.
Zombie! That one was pretty sharp. The whole charm of this song and this melody is the vulnerability and the yuck that comes along with it.
Zombie, zombie, zombie.
That's funny. It's not tracking the pitch anymore there as soon as I started getting distorted.
So now this is interesting because we're starting to have harmonics being picked up by the pitch monitoring software. And I think this is due to the amount of rasp that Chris generates with his vocal.
Yeah, he made the same observation. The tracking software can't accurately track the pitch as soon as I start to add distortion, a certain amount of distortion to my voice.
Harmonics being picked up by the pitch monitoring software. And I think this is due to the amount of rasp that Chris generates with his vocal. As soon as we go clean, absolutely fine. Again, look at this B4. Ever so
Sharp.
slightly sharp, but really accurate.
And it goes sharper.
B4, ever so slightly sharp, but really accurate. And there we picked up F sharp 5 harmonic. And there we go, bit of rasp, harmonic at the top. It's really interesting because with the raspy vocal, which we haven't had yet, this is the raspiest vocal that we've listened to, and the pitch monitoring software is picking up the harmonic, because it's not an A5, it's not between A5 and A sharp 5. It's going to be the A4, A sharp 4. And now just drifting, great pitch B4. And again, the freedom just to slide down, something that auto-tune would make into a step rather than a nice glide down a hill.
Right, because it tries to pull into a particular gridded pitch. So you would see something that's a lot more squared off there. But another thing, I don't think he talked about it. Look at the approach on that note. Do you see how it takes me a minute to center on the pitch? There's a character to that.
And now just drifting, great pitch B4. And again, the freedom just to slide down, something that auto-tune would make into a step rather than a nice glide down a hill. And then, yeah, being slightly sharp.
I tend to go sharp, especially in my head voice when I add vibrato. And I think that this initially, going through that phase of really trying to be accurate, it would drive me a little nuts. Like, why am I doing that? I noticed that by embracing these sort of quirks and imperfections in my voice rather than trying to fix them, I sing way more freely in the moment, and I actually enjoy hearing myself back better. It's actually more fun for me to listen to as imperfect now. I wouldn't have said that a long time ago.
So much expression in that. And then, yeah, being slightly sharp. So much expression in that. And look at this.
Okay.
Chris is just holding a note here. But it's holding a note, but not being too strict with it. And I'm saying that not really from a pitch standpoint. It's Chris putting the sound he wants into this note that he's holding, and this is why we get all of this variation of just kind of coming up and down, up and down, and we get these peaks and troughs.
First of all, thank you for pointing this note out. I want to play this in context of the original mix, and what Phil is saying here drives home something that I'm talking about all the time on the channel. I mean, I eventually hit the note, and then I don't hit the note, and then I add vibrato, and then I add weight, and it's all within the context of sort of this improvisational, transitionary note. A little more breathiness there right before I add the weight, but it's accompanied by this slide up to the pitch. And I'm not saying while I'm doing this, like, oh, okay, a little bit more air, a little bit more... I'm not thinking all these transitions. Rather, I'm sort of savoring the experience of phonating, which is what I feel like I do a lot when I sing. But I love these moments where it's just like one note. Let's lean into it. It really is very similar to enjoying a single mouthful of wine and noticing all the different sorts of layers of flavors and textures and the way it hits different parts of your mouth. This is what I'm doing with this note. And I have found over the many years I've coached that when singers rely on pitch correction, they never get to the point to where they can savor their own notes because they're always thinking about just making things on pitch. There's a whole level of expression that you never learn and connection that you never learn if you're like, oh, this will be pitch corrected later. You sing differently. You think differently. You enjoy your voice more when you don't have that processing as an end goal or an end result of your vocals. If you would like help learning how to find your own authentic voice and embrace it for what it is while making it truly pleasing and exciting, I can help you. Click the link below in the pinned comment or video description and start by joining my free course. I'll help you use your voice in ways you never thought you could and make amazing sounds you never thought were even there. All right, back to Phil.
What's in your head?
That's probably having a little trouble tracking that main line because in my cover, and you can see me down in the corner there, there's a call and answer thing that's going on with a background vocal, and I think that's eating into isolating that main line just a little bit.
What's in your head? What's in your head? What's in your head? What's in your
Okay, now that section there, I mean, talk about messy, right?
What's in your head? What's in your head?
I mean, all sorts of pitch problems. It's going to come out completely differently every time I do it. I love that kind of stuff. I'm falling apart right in front of you, or I'm on the verge of falling apart.
What's in your head? What's in your head? What's in your head?
Now, again, harmonics here. This would be the B4 that is still really accurate, even though it's plotting it the octave higher. This is where the pitch is, even though it thinks it's the B5.
Right.
It's not quite picking it up. But because there's so much going on in this sound, it's just trying to plot it at the pitch that it thinks it is. But this would be the pitch that Chris is hitting with the B4.
What's in your...
It's even got to the point where the isolated vocal is dropping out because of the amount of distortion on there.
It's another thing I've noticed working with my own voice and many other vocalists, that once you start adding screaming, pitch screaming, where there's supposed to be notes and there's all sorts of distortion over it, and then you add, the harmonic distortion created by the preamp that you're singing into, all these things. Once you're doing this kind of singing and you try to throw it through pitch correction, auto-tune, it doesn't work. If the pitch tracking can't track the pitch or tracks it as something different, like an octave higher because it's picking up on a harmonic, and then you try to auto-tune it or you try to even manually do it, it's looking at data that doesn't square with what's actually happening in the signal, and it goes nuts. I mean, it's stupid buggy, adding all these that there's no way you can hide that it's not working. And this particular cover in this particular song is one of those examples that if the source isn't pleasing, I don't mean perfect or even right, if it's not pleasing and emotionally connected or what, no amount of editing or pitch correction or even comping and stuff is really going to work that well. There's no replacement for practicing, for getting into the emotion, getting into the meaning that connects with you in a song that you're singing and abandoning into it and then accepting what happens. Not judging yourself while you're trying to sing, not trying to be good while you're trying to sing or cover the song, but just abandoning into the experience. As you listen back, either accept that experience that you've had as something you want to share or create a different experience and share that. But don't try to polish something that you weren't fully invested in. I want to play this short section from the original cover for you because the pitch tracking software wasn't even allowing it to be heard much, just so you can have it for context. Again, if you would like help pulling out your authentic voice out of you, click that link below in the pinned comment or video description and join my free singing course. I would love to work with you. And here is the full cover of Zombie that I've done so you can get into the whole thing.